Everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my review for The Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 13, Pabu. Of course, this review is super late. You guys probably won't be seeing this until Episode 14 premieres, but laptop died. Crazy couple of weeks. So, Episode 13, I enjoyed. I think it was a good, calm episode. This would definitely be, for a lot of people, be considered like a filler episode. Not much really happens outside of the team traveling. Once again, Sid's the other person. Wanda Sykes' character, I swear to God, I cannot remember this woman's name. It's probably on this thing. Nope, it's not even in the description. Wanda Sykes' character, whose name I cannot remember, she's with them at the beginning of the episode. We find out that it's been, I think Sid says it's been like, I swear she said like 30 rotations. I felt like she said that like it's been a month or something. But it's been long enough for her to have sent them a message and been like, hey, basically threatening them like, let's not forget, we know each other very, very well. And it's lucrative that we're all on really good terms. Obviously, don't betray me or I'll betray you. Or basically just don't leave or I will betray you. So of course it's like, hey, what's your plan? You guys didn't tell me you parted ways with Sid. So what's the plan going forward? And Hunter's just like, you're looking at it. Like, that's it. Like we just stopped talking to her and we left. And so she's like, okay, why don't we go somewhere? And so she takes them to what I would assume is in some way, shape or form, a home to her. It's not her hometown. It's none of these people's hometown. That's kind of the point of it, is that it's an island refuge where you can kind of just go to escape. The Empire won't go there because there aren't really any resources. The dude says like, if they showed up, we'd be prepared, or we'd be able to do something about it. I thought that was an interesting line. They don't touch on it because the Empire doesn't end up showing up, but I feel like that was something that's gonna kind of be a tease for tomorrow's episode, basically, or tonight's, if by the time you're watching this. So I thought that was interesting. Like he says that and it's like, oh, we'll be prepared. I'm just like, how? So that was interesting. But ultimately it's like an island paradise. They go, they have food, they can rest. It looks really cool. It wasn't that spectacular, honestly. When it was like, you don't want to miss this, and they do the whole thing with the lights, I was like, it could have looked cool. I'm sure, if you were actually there and you saw all these lights come on all at the same time, sure. But when they showed it, it was kind of just like, oh, that didn't do anything for me, like in any way, shape or form. It was just like, yeah, some people were turning lights. It didn't look like it was like uniform or in any way sort of like magical or anything, where it was like a sweeping landscape where all the lights came on from left to right or right to left or anything. It was just like, yeah, they kind of just came on all at once. And I was like, oh, okay, it's a good thing they liked it. That's all that really matters. They're the ones on the planet, not me. I'm just watching. And I thought it was meh. But they thought it was really cool. Seems like an island paradise. Tech seems to, like they kind of reference it at first, like when the guy comes in and Wanda Sykes' character hugs him, Wrecker was like, he nudges him on the shoulders, like, you got some competition. I was like, oh, I thought that was kind of funny. And then it didn't dawn on me why he actually said that. And then it was like, oh, interesting. I guess I was missing those little hints. Like, it would just be like one line here where she calls him goggles or whatever. It was just like one line. I think Sid says that. I forgot what she calls him. Either way, I was missing those like little hints. And in this episode, there's definitely more. Like they're, watching like the lights come on and she's like, hey, check this out and stuff. And they're, spending like just a little bit here and there, spending more time together. And it was like, oh, that is interesting. Didn't realize that. And they definitely laid it on much heavier in this than her just randomly saying stuff in the other episodes, unless I just wasn't paying enough attention. But in this, they definitely hint at it, and I was like, okay, who knows if that means anything, where they even could go with it, considering everything that they have to do as far as a team and dealing with the Empire, as far as once they're helping once again with Rex and Echo whenever that comes back into the fold. But it's just like, okay, the hints are there for sure, heavy in this episode. And I was like, all right, maybe they'll do something. Tech is the perfect person, of course, the least emotional character, ending up, having a girlfriend, being in a relationship is like, okay, that works. I'm curious how that will pan out. But going through, it's a nice, calm episode. Everything's nice and fun, and it's a great place. And it's like, we could probably just stay here. And then, of course, disaster strikes. I don't know if I was the only person, but for sure, when they had the stuff with the monkeys and everything, I thought the way they did it was like, oh, for whatever reason, of course, here's the Empire. And I thought Hunter specifically was looking up towards the sky. And then it was like, oh, he's just looking over at like more of the little monkey creatures kind of running away. And it's like, oh, something bad is coming. And it turned out that it was a tsunami was coming. I forgot what they called it. They gave it like a specific name, but like a tsunami's coming in, and it's like, it's about to happen. And then of course the guy's like, if that was gonna happen, the alarms would go off. And then the alarms of course go off, and it's like, ooh, the alarms just went off. And so of course everything's really bad. The girls go out on the boat just to kind of relax out on the ocean, and then obviously the waves pull back. And it was interesting watching that, because that's not something I think they really show in a lot of shows, where like that's actually a part of it for anyone who never knew that. When a tsunami comes in, that is what happens. Like the waves will actually like pull back from whatever weird thing happened out in the ocean. The waves will actually pull all the way back like that, and then everything rushes back in. It's a very interesting thing. So it was cool that they actually put that part in there, instead of it just being like, oh, it's an earthquake / a tsunami's coming into play. It was like, no, here's what it really would look like. Like the tides pull back, the fish are, just out there and dry, like the boat gets docked. Still thought it was weird that they felt like they needed to jump off the boat, all things considered. Like I know they were going towards the rocks, but I was like, wouldn't you be safer on it? Like it wasn't like they were on like insane rapids. It was like the water's just pulling back. Like it was consistent, but it wasn't like, holy crap, we're like flying towards these rocks. It was like they were kind of going backwards a little bit, because the water was just going down, and the tide was pulling back. And I was like, they jump, but then like it hits the it hits the rocks, and it kind of just lands on the ground, and it didn't like flip or crack open. It was just like it hit it, and then it was docked. It was dry docked. And I was just like, that was weird. I didn't think they were moving so fast. It was like, we have to jump off the boat or we're dead. And of course they wouldn't have been, because like the boat just hit it and it moved a little, and they could have just laid down flat, and it would have been like extra bumpy for a sec, and they would have been fine. But they jump off. Of course, everything's, the tide's pulling back, so everything's getting dried out, and they're evacuating everyone to the highest points of the city, where the original walls were for the town. So everybody's freaking out, everybody's running, except for like that one random old dude that Wrecker had to pick up. And Hunter, of course, has to make his way up to the ship and then fly down and, kind of pick the girls up. So I like the way they did that, where it was like the last minute, of course, with the water actually rushing in, and he's able to scoop them up. And it was cool. It was, a simple episode. And of course, after that crazy disaster, and it's like everything's, in a blink of an eye, completely wiped out, which I thought was really interesting. When all of that was happening, I kept thinking, like, it feels weird to me that they even did that, where it was like, yeah, let's build all of this stuff below the walls. And then it's like, well, like they have an alarm system for that, very particular thing. So clearly it's something that's common enough. If you need an alarm, and, they even say it when it first starts, it's like, there's a little quake, so they're definitely familiar with that sort of thing. But it was one of those things where it's like, and technically, I guess we do it in real life as well, where we build stuff and it's like, we know that this could potentially happen. It's just kind of rare, but it's not uncommon enough that we don't have any alarms. Like we definitely have alarms, because it's like, we're pretty confident that it will happen at some point, but whatever. So it seemed weird to me that they did that. And obviously that's why the walls that they go behind were built that way for the initial part of like, what was a much smaller village or, on this island. So I just thought it was interesting, because I was like, man, it seems oddly dangerous. And I think it's just the fact that it's Star Wars, where I was like, it seems sort of stupid too, because it's Star Wars, like, floating, literally Cloud City. Like there's so many cities where it's just like expanded horizontally and not like vertically, going down and stuff. It's like it's already up here, and then you just go that way instead. So it felt weird, and it's probably because it was, just because it was Star Wars, even though obviously they didn't truly have that technology where it's, floating cities and stuff. It was obviously, much more nature based, and it's I can't think of like Pueblo houses and stuff like that. So everything's, made of stone and clay stuff. So I was like, okay, it makes sense that they'd have to do that. They wouldn't have that technology. It just felt weird, and also, incredibly dangerous, because you have these alarms. I for sure would have been one of the people that's like, oh, okay, so you're like kind of prepared that can happen, but not prepared enough that there's anything that could actually be done in any way, shape, or form. If it happens, you were guaranteed, just like in this episode, you are guaranteed to be screwed over, just like all of those people that live below that main initial wall. And it was just like, it just seems like a bad choice. It just seems odd. It's like they have systems in place for when that sort of thing happens, and it's just like, well, I guess you can't, just live in fear. But it also just seemed a little irresponsible considering what it got. And of course, it's just the episode that they make it there is when the really, really bad thing ends up happening. So of course, I'm sure it's excessively rare, which that's just how that how that goes. But it was definitely interesting to watch that episode pan out. And then everyone, of course, is, wounded, mentally, emotionally, physically for some people. Obviously, once it's a stampede, somebody's getting trampled in some way, shape, or form. So there are people limping and people hurt. Obviously, the crew is just, flat out tired. Some people are sleeping. And it's like, all right, maybe we'll just stay here. We can help rebuild a little bit. And it's like, that would be cool. And so that's where the episode ends. It's just like, yeah, they could stay there. That, I'm sure that would be paradise for them, of course. Unfortunately, that would be boring for us. So I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know if the Empire should be expected, or if something random happens where they, end up getting like another mission or anything like that. They could even pull a wild card and be like, surprise, surprise, Sid actually had the ship bugged like a super long time ago, and she was giving them like excessive leeway. And then she's like, okay, you played my hand. And then it's like, boom, she reveals that she had a tracker on them the whole time on the ship. And the Empire does actually end up showing up on this island. And that could be what forces them to leave, because you have these people who are just survived basically, a tsunami. They got nothing. They can't risk being taken over by the Empire. They're literally, there's no reason the Empire would be there. Like the guy even said, it's like, we don't, we're a little island. Like we don't have any reason. We don't have any resources that would give reasons to the Empire to even bother, showing up here. But if they're tracking down some rogue clones, especially the very particular rogue clones, it kind of makes a lot of sense. And that would force them to leave, because they wouldn't want to destroy something that they know is so peaceful. And, that's sort of an in-game sort of situation. Like, we have to leave now. Maybe someday, hopefully, we can return though. And I feel like that's where it's headed. I don't know if it'll be the Sid thing, or if it'll, it could easily just be a random mission, even to help out Pabu. It could just be like, hey, they need this resource or something. We know where to get that, or we know someone that might know. Maybe that'll lead them back to Sid. And, they obviously won't say where they were. It's like, all right, we need, more money to help this place rebuild, because we do believe it can be a home. So there are a lot of ways that they can do it, where it's like, all right, that's in game, but it's not right now. They still have to go off and do a couple other things, and then into the series type stuff is like, all right, we can officially retire. We're living on Pabu the rest of our lives, if they're so lucky. Admittedly, it's Star Wars, and especially their particular role in the story and what's happened with them and stuff. It's like, I feel like it's a little too hopeful, which sucks. Like, just this era of Star Wars, it's really hard to be like hopeful that anything will just be like, and they lived happily ever after. They just left and things were great. It's a dark time in Star Wars, so it's hard to think things will just work out for them, but maybe they will. Obviously it won't be right now. Like I said, the show would just end, or it would be really boring. They're just on Pabu all the time. But I think something's gonna happen, and they're gonna have to leave in the next episode. So I don't know what it'll be, but obviously we'll find out soon enough. But we'd love to know your thoughts on this episode, of course. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. Or what takes them away. Like, it's gonna happen. Is it gonna be Sid? Is it gonna be, surprise tracker sort of situation, which wouldn't be the craziest thing. In all honesty, it would not be the craziest thing if somehow she managed to pull that off, just at some point, and she really was giving them like a ton of leeway. And it's like, all right, now I'm ready. Like, you've gone beyond what I'm willing to, extend to you for courtesy. And that's it. Boom. Super secret magic tracker activated. They got to take off. So I would love to know your theories on what is it that's going to make them leave Pabu, because it has to happen. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. Also, I suck at this because I'm still really new to it. I also stream. So if you guys want to check out my streaming channel, I'd greatly appreciate it. This week, Resident Evil 4 comes out. So like Thursday at midnight, whenever I can download that game, we will be playing RE4. I doubt I'll end up doing a stream before that. I still have to play the demo some more and get some more shots in it. I don't know if I'll stream that again, but Resident Evil 4 this weekend for sure. So definitely join me for that. I'm gonna be streaming like crazy on Friday. I'm taking off work because it's RE4. So I'm playing RE4. So if you want to join that stream, I'd greatly appreciate that. But like I said, want to know what you guys thought about this episode. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.